shit, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Glad you made us in a social production. We're doing it, boys and girls. Thank you for joining me once again. If it's your first time, buckle up, buckle down. Where can you find these videos? Every Wednesday and Friday. For the meantime, it could change. All down the line, it could change. The dates could change, but for the time being, it's Wednesdays and Fridays. On Instagram, follow me there. Subscribe on the YouTube channel if you'd like to watch the full-length videos, because that's where they drop in full length. And check out patreon.com/RobSadri if you'd like to fiscally, financially support the show. Let's get it going. If you're tuning in anywhere from Canada, Wagwan, anywhere down south in the United States, down south, further down south, and it's South America is over there. Of course, in between, we're not forgetting Mexico, over there in Africa, Asia, Europe, Antarctica, Papua New Guinea, New Zealand, Australia, the Koreas going at it wild. In Taiwan, Thailand, Bangkok, the Philippines, Senegal. Everywhere, baby. Globally speaking, the syndicate is alive. I hope you're doing well. It's the 31st, the last day of the month. It's time to pass the torch from one month to the next. The passing of the torches. Ladies and gents, it's that time. I'm doing good. I hope you're doing good as well. Let's get a sip of this bad boy. And we keep it loose around here. It is an extra loose day. Today's an extra loose day because it's Friday, end of the month. We are keeping it loose, and that's the way we like it around here. Let's get a sip of this bad boy and let's get going. In no particular order, and just have some ideas, just some thoughts, and we're gonna just shoot the shits, have the funds, and see what it's all about. There's too many things going on, but I'm gonna just try to, try my best to keep it all somewhat, somewhat cohesive, somewhat, but it might just, we might end up everywhere. Who knows where we're gonna end up? But let's begin with the first great story of the week. The great story of the week this week, right now, right here specifically, I'm talking about airdropping, the pros and cons of airdropping, and man, because like right now, this relates to the Koreas, but it impacts, we've all participated in airdropping. What is, okay, first of all, getting A to B, getting a package or getting somebody from A to B. And back in the day, it used to be way back in the day, you'd have to, by foot, if you wanted to carry something or somebody, had to carry, you put them on your shoulder, you let them latch onto a titty, you flip them upside down and you're 69 walking down the street trying to get A to B. The package is in your face, but you're marching down that and you got to get them. You're 70 miles down the, over the hill into the next whatever jurisdiction. Let's go. But that's the way we used to do it. Carry things. Eventually we got animals involved at one point. Eventually you'd attach something to an animal, like you get a nice pig and you shine it and you buff it and you train it and you talk to the little piglet and be like, deliver this package 200 kilometers northeast, whatever you pick a direction. And that's how you get a horse and put a carrot on top, attach it to a string, attach it to a stick, put a carrot on a horse, then put a bunch of parcels or important packages on top of the horse and then smack its ass and then have the horse go in one direction until the package is delivered, and then they open up the package and they'd have to do the same thing to get the message back to you or whatever, or package. It was just like, oh, we're exchanging gifts, here's some gifts for you from over the lands down under, over there. Eventually, we incorporated running, we incorporated animals. Down the line, we got buggies, we got cars, we got planes, we got airplanes. And eventually, the age of the internet, where you can airdrop stuff that's in your phones, you record it, you write it, and then you send it, and it goes somewhere, and then it lands in your hand. And now you're jerking off to it, which is nice. But that's, before we dabbled in balloons, attaching items to putting people on balloons, having people travel with balloons and zeppelins. I mean, it's beautiful. But right now, what we've got going on right now is actually it's a evolution of the game of airdropping. Right now, the Koreas are going back and forth, airdropping items into each other's borders. Just little, and that's old school. That's romantic. I like that. That's because we don't do that anymore. It's one of those things that's gone. as a species, we've stopped the habit. One of those things, you know, we stopped writing letters. That's another thing we've stopped. Most people don't write letters anymore. Most people call, most people text. You might email. Nobody's writing letters. Nobody's putting letters in bottles. Nobody's putting letters and attaching it to items and then but that's what we're doing right now. That's what we're doing globally speaking. That is pretty cool. I like it. South Korea is apparently attaching pamphlets, leaflets as they call them, to balloons, sending it over down south to North Korea. And then North Korea is receiving the letters. They find the letters, they open the letters, and it's, you know, it's leaflets that are, I don't know, I've not collected a leaflet myself. I've not read any of these pamphlets, but they're letters. They're, you know, they're carrying news about North Korea from the outside. So they're trying to, you know, South Korea is trying to get messages across the board via balloons, and North Korea is receiving these messages and they're collecting it, and then they're like, what do we do to retaliate? Now North Korea is attaching garbage and manure, which is poop. I got excited at first because I thought it was human fecal matter, but it wasn't. Allegedly, I don't know. It might be. Some of it might be. I don't know. Manure could be. You could get a mixed bag of manure, and then in between the manure could be hiding human feces, human fecal matter, poop, a la fecal matter, and that's something to think about. It is pretty. It's traditional. It's classic. It's a little bit romantic. Airdropping letters and a little bit of bodily excrements. Never hurt anybody. All right, it might have hurt some people. I'm sure at one point or another fecal matter became a problem. I'm pretty sure somewhere down the line, I remember reading or hearing or seeing depictions of old, hundreds of years ago. Oh, we're in, Europe or wherever else, that we're dumping garbage and fecal matter out the window, and you'd yell fecal matter, and that's when you send four as you hit out some fecal matter out of you're sitting on your stool in your 1-bedroom chateau in south of France, fecal matter 4, and you toss it out. And that was the original golf carts and golf balls having incidents before so I'm just saying, it's nice we're there. We're doing it. I want to know how you feel, if you've ever airdropped anything, whether it's via technology and in your pocket, in the palm of your hands and your phones, or you've attached a little love letter to a lover and then attached it to a balloon and filled it up with helium and attached a baby to the balloon with the helium and sent it to your loved ones or to your suitor, and you're trying to send a letter to your suitor because I believe it takes 2 suitors to suit. You can't toot and suit without one. It takes 2 to suit and toot. And all I'm saying is maybe you've done that. Maybe you've airdropped. Maybe you've attached a little letter to a pigeon's ankle, and maybe it was difficult because maybe the pigeon was one of those pigeons with cankles and it had thick ankles. But nonetheless, it was good at flying and delivering. Maybe you've done that. But I don't know your lifestyle. I'm not here to judge. All I'm saying is, how do I feel about, dropping deuces via balloons? I'll say this. I do like the fact that we are not letting just, because originally that belongs to the feathered friends. If you're following thus far, you know that fecal matter dropped from above. Classically speaking, traditionally speaking, that is business of the birds, where that's the first original airdrop. Fecal matter airdrop is for the birds, but I like the fact that we're getting in there. A lot of times, especially in these times, you got to innovate, you got to find new lanes, new pathways, and if they don't let you in, you fly. If they don't let you in, you find methods of getting yourself or part of you, or you get it there. You get it there. And that's beautiful. Seeing fecal matter travel. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Or is it fecal matter? It's fecal matter on a balloon. Should you touch it? I would say let the professionals handle it, because you never know what's in these, because it could just be, and you could be a farmer too. You could be a farmer legit in South Korea who was like, man, it's the end of the month. We've done I don't know much farm lingo. That's not I did spend the summer working at a farm, but I don't know much. Like I'm not a, you know, I'm not gonna call myself, you know, it takes more than just a summer of like, oh, I've done a little bit of summer work in a farm. That's different. But there, you know, somebody might be there and they're like, oh, we're running low on manure, and then all of a sudden airdrop manure. It could be the unexpected way that the Koreas were actually united, because like, you know, South Korea could have been like, and who knows, maybe in North Korea somebody picked up the pamphlets and despite not, you know, maybe the messages weren't particularly what they were looking for, but maybe they could use the paper to recycle to you know, because sometimes you want to just jot down some notes. Any piece of paper would really do, and you're like, man, if I could just write down this note, because they tell you if you don't write it down, you're gonna forget, man, and that's, man, and that's beautiful. So, you know, providing little, just, you know, little pamphlets for people to doodle on, jot down some ideas, or just, you know, get some different ideas from reading. Who knows? I do like it. Again, let's not just leave it to the birds to shit from above. As humans, for now, still the dominant species as far as we're concerned. There's debate. Are there extraterrestrials? Are there, you know, UFOs, UAPs? Who knows? But until it's fully, until I get slapped in the face with an alien tit, I'm not gonna be sold. Until I see a large, you know, just a viscous large vagina, just, you know, with two eyes walking down the street and just wearing a raincoat, pretending that until it's rubbing up against me in my face, drooling, foaming, you know, trying to impregnate me with its tail, or I don't know what's gonna happen until I see that. Until it happens, I, for one, I'll say this: we're still the dominant species. Let's go, Team Humanity. You know what's up? Lay it down. So that you gotta lay it down. You just gotta lay it down before they come, or whatever. Maybe they're already. Who knows? You read so many things. They're underwater. They're in midair. God, until I see it again until that alien clit is rubbing on my nose, I'm not gonna be satisfied with these. I need more. So if you're out there, you know where to find me. Clit to face, alien clit to face. That's what it takes, because I think it's going to take a few brave men and women to step up and say, yes, yes, we will fuck, yes. But that's just North Korea, man. That's just North. But again, very relatable topic, of course, globally speaking, it impacts all of us. If you are thinking of putting manure in balloons, sending it over to a neighbor, or you would like somebody to send you manures, maybe that could become a company that delivers manures via balloons. Balloon manure, balloon poops, poops on balloons, poops in the skies, drop-in deuces, airdropping deuces, all the, you know, it's all good. I like it. Let me know what you think. If you're behind it, leave a comment, subscribe, of course. If you're in front of it as well, let us know. It would suck if you just oh man, because that's the thing they say. That's why I never take my car to the car wash. I just let the rain do the work, baby. That's God's, or that's nature's car wash right there. Because as soon as you take your car to the car wash, that's when the airdrop of deuces get dropped on your windshield, and you're like, oh, again. And I don't want you to spend money where you don't have to. So, or you know, maybe, oh, it would suck if you're getting married. If you're getting married and you get airdropped a balloon filled with feces, or, you know, not human, not at this point yet, but manure nonetheless, which is poop. Technically, that's the scientific term for it, or as the French call it, à la poop. If your wedding is interrupted, well, they say bird droppings are good luck. I could only imagine how much good luck you're getting with a whole, you know, the large garbage bag filled with manure. That's 3 generations worth of good luck. Yes, the pictures they're not going to be the best. They're not going to, you know, but if it's a large bag, you could, I guess distribute it. If you get shat on with a large bag of manure and it's your wedding, I would say distribute the large amount of feces amongst the guests as well. So it seems like down the line, you could say to people, when you sit them down and make them watch videos or show them pictures of your wedding, which nobody really cares about. But nonetheless, you do that. Sometimes you do that. People do that. Why? I don't know. Especially if you've not been invited, now you got to sit down and watch these videos and look at the, you know what I mean? It's just one of those, you weren't invited, but take a look at these pictures. The point that it's, you know, smeared on everybody so it looks like a theme party, and you can just be like, you know, Nutella sponsored us and it was a Nutella themed wedding. That's why everybody's covered in brown, and have fun with it. That's all I'm trying to say. So use it, you know, again, everything is, you know, when life gives you lemons, they say put it up your the vagina and shove it up your urethra to avoid UTIs. That's what they say. When life gives you lemons, slice it open and squirt some citrus in your eye socket. Let it burn. It's good for disinfecting stuff. It's good to get a tear going. It's good to, if you're like, oh, I just wish I could shed a couple of tears because I'm an emotional fellow or lady, but my tear ducts have been shut. A little bit of citrus goes a long way. If life gives you lemons, you know, do some with it. That's what I'll say about that. But that's just North Korea and dropping deuces from above. I like it. Do we want more or less of it? I'll let the internet decide. Leave a comment. What else is going on? I'll say this, man. I personally think the G-spot should be open 24/7. I don't know the exact hours, but it's one of those. It's one of my favorite places. One of my favorite places is the G-spot. Go down there as much as I can. It's been a while, but that's the thing. I do like it to be open 24/7. I'm petitioning this. Globally speaking, I think there needs to be more awareness that we need to race together as, you know, people who are trying to elevate themselves, but also the community as well. So 24/7 G spots. No longer are you gonna walk there at, I don't know, 11:30 p.m. and find yourself facing a closed G spot, which sucks because it's like, hey, this is the time that I operate. This is, you know, some people are night owls and it sucks for the G spot to be open during, I don't even know the hours, to be honest with you. It's one of those things that's, you know, everything else is on the web. You can Google everything, but the G spot hours or a phone call or a number or you know, or a website, good luck. Trying to get a hold of some people who know what's going on in terms of operating hours or services. Leave a message. Your call is important to us. We'll give it. There's nobody returning messages. I'll say this. Hey, I get it. It just needs us talking about it. And before you know it, it goes from part-time to extended hours to 24/7 to 365 a year. And that way, because some people, you know, we don't necessarily all, you know, do the same things on the same. Some people, you know, it's, I work night shifts. I get to, you know, I get to come home, catch a couple of Z's in the daytime, and then afternoons when I party, G-spot's got to be open. Vice versa, you're working in the morning, you come back at home, you want to head out for the G-spot. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, it's too late, the G-spot's closed. You know, so I think we just need more branches. I think we just need a little bit more, you know, and I don't want it to become like I don't want this to be franchise. I don't want this to be like, you know, I don't want this to become like, let's not make it corporate. I think just individually speaking, I think if we all just took a little bit of initiative, open to 24/7, put up signs. The G-spot should be open for and clear signs. And man, if I could say a thing or two about signs, I'd shout out to I pour some of this out right now for the first people that came up with signs, but I live here and I also work here as well, and I got to clean it up. So metaphorically speaking, pouring some out for the homies and home gals out there who came up with signs initially. Because before that, it was just people wandering around. Good luck finding a place without signs. But somebody at one point or another had to sit down the group, the clan, the gang, the family, the tribe, the whatever, the group. And to be like, we've been going around in circles. You know what this actually, man, you love my Jews. Shout out to the Jews being lost in the desert for 40 years, probably due to lack of signs. They could have probably used a couple of signs. I think that's somebody probably after 40 years wandering, man. That is and whether you take that as a literal 40 years or just a really, really long time, I think again, it goes to say that a lack of signs was contributing to the fact that the beautiful people walking around, hot desert, just be like, it'd be nice to see an arrow with a sign, oasis this way. Water on tap, get it. You know what I'm saying? But So shout out to the ones that came up with signs. And I mean, you have to sell people to it too before, you know, because everything was word of mouth. Everything was orally done, of course. And that's the way we like it, a little bit of mouth action. But as much as that's appreciated and desired, it's good to have a couple of signage. It's good to just be like, you know, again, bathroom this way. But somebody had to sit down the group and indicate. And there's an importance, guys. I think we are living our lives without any direction or without any sort of like signs. We need, everybody's like, what are you talking about, signs? And he's like, he or she may have had to sit them down and tell them, you know, you need to write down specific, you know, if you got a dental office, if you got a, you know, if you got a oncologist, if you got a doula, just, you know, make a sign, put it on your front door so people know. Or if you want to help people get to a place, put up signs with arrows pointing in directions. You are here. That's probably, you are here is probably the first sign. That's probably the first sign. Because everything else was probably invented after that. First, you need to indicate where you are. Well, I don't know what you're talking about, John, with all these signs, but where are we and where are we going? And somebody said, you are here. And that was the first sign. And they planted, and everything else stemmed from that in different directions. Bathroom that way, Africa this way, Europe that way, Asia, you know, and then you had to eventually get to cities. We wouldn't have cities. We wouldn't have anything without signs. So somebody at one point or another had to sit down the group and explain the importance of signs. Just indicated what it is, where it is, why it is, how it is, who it is, how it do what it do, so that people don't get lost. Otherwise, man, you think the wait times at the hospital are bad now. Way back, you'd be sitting waiting. When am I going to see it? You're not even in an office. You're not even in a, you know, medical building. Where am I? I wish there were signs, and then that's, you know, days. That's why it took everybody a long time to do things. But shout out to the people that came up with signs. Once again, underappreciated. Nobody talks about the history of signs. Nobody knows who was the first sign, or, you know, what was the first sign. Show me it's like somebody had to sit down and expand that. Naysayers in the beginning, we don't need signs. We've been doing it. We're no sign people. No signs for these people. We don't want to. What is he, crazy John over here with his signs? What are you talking about? What are these signs indicating? And but eventually, one by one, people started, you know, putting signs above their businesses, bringing more business in. Why? Because there's signs. You know where you're going. All of a sudden, the other business owners who were just word of mouth, they were like, man, I don't know what Dennis is doing, but he's been getting a lot more business. The wife is saying, you know, Chris, maybe you should consider putting up a sign. I don't know about that. And it took a while before it got going, but signs are important. And shout out to the one, I don't even know how we got here, but signs are important. Man, oh man. See, we're talking about the G-spot, put up a sign. I'll also say this while we're in the jurisdiction, while we're in the region, you're welcome. I'll say this, that a lot of people are looking for that extra boost because the days are long and the nights are even longer. When you're an outlaw, the days are long and the nights are, you don't need to be an outlaw, but it feels good to feel like an outlaw. It feels good, or an in-law. If you can't outlaw, you got an in-law, man. Nonetheless, the point is, ladies and gentlemen, everybody wants a little pep in their step. Everybody wants to get a little bit of, what if I told you could get all the pep in your step? Introducing the new, improved, all new G-string juice. That's right, G-string juice for everybody. Beautiful G-string juice. This G-string juice that I've concocted, that I've spent a lot of time perfecting, will give you 70 billion X the amount of caffeine as a regular cup of coffee gives you. Don't you want your heart to stop from just vibrate, but it's moving so fast that it's stopped, but it's not actually stopped. It's just moving really fast. 70 billion X fast. And that's how you get shit done with G-string juice. Forget your over-the-counter Powerade or whatever energy drink is out there. G-string juice, bringing you all the caffeine and everything else with some little bit of who knows what in there. to get you good G-string juice, crafted with the best G-strings. And that's we put them in barrels. We age these. First, let me explain the process to you. First, we collect dirty G-strings. And by dirty, I mean gold, essentially. Crusted up G-strings. When you're finished, when ladies are finished with their heavy workouts, with, when their water breaks during we take all, because you toss them out, we collect them. And we put them in blenders, and we put them in barrels, oak wood barrels, mahogany barrels. I don't know the barrel game that well, but wood is involved at one point. A lot of wood, a lot of hardwood. And we extract the juices, essentially, and we let it sit, and we blend them together. It's a nice blend. It's not just one, because it'd be hard to get all the G-string juice for the world from just one G-string, unless it's just this massive, humongous lady with the world's largest G-string, which she'd have to be enormous. She'd have to, to be able to, but that's not the case. Because if it were the case, she'd be a huge, just, oh man, like, just a 1,000-pound lady with the giant G-string, just on a slow treadmill, nonetheless walking on an incline, sweating with her fat tits, just sweating in her, and that's how you get. But we don't have access to that lady, not yet anyway. We're on our way. We'll get her down the line, hopefully. But in the meantime, we like to work with the numbers. We go reg size, G-strings, regular folk, pitching in, everybody doing their part. We refine it. We get the extract, we put it in bottles, you get it, and instead of sipping coffee, which you like, now you can get all jittery and just excited to go do your thing out there. Okay, you can still consume coffee, because your boy likes coffee too. I'm not gonna stop, because it's just good to have variety. It is just good to have variety. So I'm talking like, oh, what is this? It's a little short and curly. Yeah, really, that is the pulp of G-string juice. You could get it without the little short and curlies, but there is choices, there's options. I just want you to know, every once in a while, there's that, what is that? So, let me get it out between from, it's what that is. G-string juice for everybody. So get motivated. This thing is got enough energy to fuel rockets from here to Mars, man. So imagine what it's gonna do to your body. Fueled rockets from here to Mars. Imagine what you're gonna accomplish on G-string juice. Quench your thirst. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday. A lot of big things are happening. The biggest thing that's recently happened, that just happened, I believe, I heard late last night, late evening, as I'm doing my thing, which is who knows what. Finding out things about things that I'd like to bring to you that you've already probably gotten in different portions, but nonetheless, let's discuss it together. What am I talking about? One of the biggest newses out there that just newsed, one of the biggest newses that just newsed out there last night. Don Juan is, man, okay, Donald Trump is, whole case was going on. I wasn't keeping tabs on what's going on, and I don't know too much of the deets of what was, but Donald Trump was in court, back and forth, doing his thing. And apparently they came out in New York. That's where it happened. If you want to know, if we're going down the path of the who, the what, the where, when, why, how, let's dig deep then. Let us indeed. I didn't want to go there, but fine, let's go there then. Or maybe I did want to go there. You don't know me. Maybe I did want to go there. Maybe that's what I've always wanted to do, to go there. Maybe that's what I wanted to do. Oh man, where are we at? Where you wanted to go? I'll say this. Donald J. Trump. John, that's J for John or Juan. All for Juan and Juan for all. Don Juan. I did find out that there was a court case, and that's when I came up with all for Juan and Juan for all. but then I was kind of disappointed because I'm still gonna use it. I'm not gonna lie, because I like that. I like that. Personally, I like that. I don't know what it does for you guys and gals out there, but all for Juan and Juan for all was good until I found out the judge at the trial is also coincidentally named Juan. What are the odds of that? I'm going on all for Juan and Juan for all. You're like, yes, and then all of that. I'm still going. That's gonna be the title for today's podcast. That's going to be all for Juan and Juan for all. I don't care. What are the odds of that? Clearly there's man. That's one-on-one action right there. But let's not get distracted. There was a case. There was many cases. There was one case with other cases. I don't know how cases work. I guess you start with a big case and you put smaller cases within it. It's like a suitcase of cases, and you can pack it with items or smaller suitcases until there's no room for anything else. But then you dig deep, and there's even smaller suitcases, and we're like, where am I stuff? And this is just a suitcase full with suitcases. So it's more of a novelty than anything, but nonetheless brings joy to people, and I like it. I will say this: there's a case. I don't know the exact situation. I believe there was payments made, services rendered, services acquired, payments paid for people. And I don't know, to be honest, what the deal was. I don't know why I thought we're living in a free market. Capitalism, free market, with your free autonomy and your agency to do what you want, because it's your body and it's my choice, and we do with the money is what we like to do. We buys and gives you purchasing power, and that's what it's all about, man. The free market. So we do that as individuals, and everybody brings something to the services, and everybody's serving up something. Everybody's contributing to the ecosystem, which is the economy, and everything's circles, and everything's just, you exchange a little bit of handshakes and pat each other on the back, and you hand each other money, and you get different services in return. That's the whole point of this thing. It's the game that we're playing. Don't hate the game. Don't hate the player. Don't hate the player. That's what it's all. Don't hate the player. Hate the, but don't hate the game though. Don't hate the game either. Don't hate the game, because that's the game that it's the exchange of the goods and services for the monies, for the scratch. For the moolah, for the cheddar. Let's go. What do you bring to the table? Services. Put it on. Open it up. Let's go. So somebody paid for services that we're not even sure that if they got, and if they did get, isn't that what this is all about? Isn't that we have the freedom to purchase services of any kind? Fully engaged adults purchasing allegedly. I don't even know if they got the services or not. But I'll tell you one thing. This just puts I'll say this is, I think, in the big picture, it'll only get people. So there's pros and cons to that. I think that pros would be like, we're getting people engaged. More people are engaged in the art of, in the theater of, in the theater of, in the play of in the game of the theater of the global theater that is our lives, which is portions. It's conjured up or somehow manufactured, but nonetheless we play, because it's like Monopoly, and it might not be your favorite game, but nonetheless it's a game that we play, and you got to roll the dice, because if you don't roll the dice, somebody else rolling the dice for you. Buying property on Fifth Avenue or something. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that the game is that it takes, for the game to go on, we need to actively participate in the game. Sometimes you might lose a little bit of, and rightly so, you might lose a little bit sense of like, what even is the point of the game if the game is always, but then you can't abandon the game. And that's where I'm having a little bit of, because I'm like, at some points you're like, man, this game is, and then you want to walk away, but then you got to come back, because like there's no, until, and that's the thing, that's when you realize until you bring a better game, you can't just be like, I don't want to play, because then you'll be left out. You're not playing the game. I think that's some of the, I don't know, to be honest with you, I don't know. The positive is that it gets the people going. The positive is that overall, generally speaking, it gets you more involved as human. Because if you're like, I don't care about none of this, then you go about your day, you don't participate in the whole game that we collectively recognize as democracy I don't know. I don't know. I'm not here to debate the meaning of. I'm not here to like get stuck and dwell on linguistics and like and the benefits and the. Once you come up with something better, is where we're at. I think generally speaking. So until then, that's kind of sort of the game that we're playing. Sort of kind of, but it's a game on this. But it's real also. And just because it's a simulation doesn't make it any less real. Because that's the game we're playing. And the point of this is that it gets the people going, gets people excited, because like all of a sudden we're like, yes. Like no, we're not like yes, but yes. Because it gets the people going. Because ultimately, as you know, the average men and women out there whose biggest worry is not climate change, and you know, it's mostly all about the numbers and the fiscal matters and families trying to feed their babies, and you're like, oh, my tit doesn't have any more milk in it, what am I gonna do? You're not worried about the air and, you know, whatnot, although that may not to say that that's not an issue in terms of it, but everything could be an issue, but we're not here to get stuck on issues and whatnot. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that it brings you together, because you're like, yes, the working class person is, you know, and that's, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know, to be honest with you. It's one of those things where I'm just still trying to like, but all for one and one for all. That's when you see that's when you kind of feel like, oh man, this kind of feels like me, because it kind of feels like this kind of, maybe not directly me, but people that I know, everyday folk who get, you know, folked up to by the system sometimes. And not the same, but like overall, globally speaking, it's, you know, how do I relate to this? I don't, you know, I've never been convicted of anything. Thank God. Let's keep it that way. Never done any crime. Don't intend to. In terms of, you know, but I'll say this, did I have a grandpa who did time? Yes. Did I have a grandpa who went to prison? Yes. Shout out, you know? And that's when you see that sometimes people do certain things to provide for their families. And you see how good people may still be having to, because of the game, that it's not, everybody's got their faults, nobody's perfect, let's just put it that way. The point is that overall, this gets the people more excited about the games, because now you're like, oh, systems, like, you know, this system, Donald Trump represents the individual, the man, the woman that's working, which is, that's one of the things, but it's multi-layered, because this thing's fucking like multi-dimensional. Chess and checkers had a baby with like a friggin' PS5 and, you know, inserted some AI. This is twisted shit, son. It's not as simple as ABC. I don't know what comes after C, to be honest with you. I wish it was simpler. But the point is, ladies and gentlemen, that it's complicated. And there's pros and cons, and we don't get to choose the battles, that the battles choose us. We don't get to choose the choo-choo train that goes around the tracks is the one that counts, man. And all you got to do is keep your ball in the game, man. And it's the eye of the tiger, essentially, is what it is. The point is that the everyday man has been attacked for the past several years. We've seen that the overreach of governance and governments and having a difficult time with sustenance and thriving and shit. It's a government overreach with their greasy little palms, just getting in the overreach and get out of my face, government. It's what a lot of people said, globally speaking, and that's why you see these trends going on between the left and the right, and the average person in the middle is just like, I don't want to know what you're doing there in the big old office. Just do some proper paperwork, make sure the machine runs smoothly. I don't want to know what you had for lunch. Just do your job. But the point is, but if you can't lose too much interest, you can't be too uninvolved. So this is good, because it gets the people going. That's the good thing about it, because the average person could see that, man, if Donald Trump is gay, that's like us. And it is kind of us. And it matters. Because once we agree that you're playing the game, it matters. Until we come up with a better game, or at least alter the game slowly but surely. Make all, I don't know, so many, again, multi-layered chess checkers, playing bar games and tossing pool sticks and catching it in your in your throat and it's coming out your ass, and all sorts of feelings and emotions are arising, but all of a sudden you're like, this could happen to anybody. If it can happen to Don, that's the positive is it gets the people more involved, and they're like, we got to get together to work together to save Juan, so that Juan can stand in opposition to the very biased, one-sided, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, agenda or agendas, plural, so many things going on simultaneously. So it's like, and we're on limited, and this is a 1 hour tops podcast. We could extend it to longer, but let's go anyway. Let's just, what it is I'm trying to say there's a law going on, is what it is. So this is the persecution of one individual against the machine. And we don't like machines around here. We don't like the likes of you around. We like machines. I take that back. We love machines. God, love machines. Machinery, gears. All I'm saying is, it's got different aspects to it. So there is that aspect of it. Let's get the people involved. You got to go with the back and the forth, and you got to make it wrestling, baby. So it's exciting. So then we talk about it and go out there and vote and participate. And that's how you keep the people going with the game, and the game goes because the people keep going, and the game is dependent on people going where the game doesn't. The point is, that's a nice game. It's a good game. It's not a perfect game. Do you have a better game? That's one side of it. That's one thing. So the pros of all this is that it gets people involved. It gets people in it, but it comes at a cost because it sets a precedent. Because we all know, at least to some degree, that politics is dirty. It's a dirty game out there, man. And it gets dirty and dirtier. And I don't even know anything. Basically, on a very surface level, it looks dirty, and that's the precedent it sets. That this game, if you want to get in there and make a little bit of, if you want to do something, it's not pushing the status quo. You got to be willing to get dirty. And that's the kind of message that we're sending out to the young out there, that you got to get dirty and play dirty, and you need lots of money, which is a good thing. 'Cause I don't know, we're all figuring out together after all. Who's got the answers? Not this guy. Not this guy. So all I'm saying is, it sets a dirty precedent. Because the United States is the best human experiment we've got going on this planet. And again, nothing's perfect, but it is the best human experiment on a large scale, ecological, topographical, fucking, it's a nice experiment. It's a good experiment in comparison to all the other experiments that are going on in and around the world in every country, because different experiments. But the point is, it sets a dirty precedent. Because that means, what the message that this sends to anybody out there is, if you want to get involved and be of whatever service, and be of value, and if you want to do it through politics, just know that's a dirty game, and that's a damn shame. I'll say that. That's a damn shame. Or maybe there's no shame. Maybe it's the best way that it should be. Fill it up. Yeah, because taking money out of politics is kind of it's one of those things that's become impossible. It's so pour more money into politics. Yes, ultimate money politics. Make it as dirty as possible. People going after each other like the wild animals. But also that's exciting. So more money. I take it all back. Pour all the money simply into politics. Deplete all your resources and pour it into politics. That's the way we want to go down this road, and that's the way we're going down this road, because there's only one sign pointing in this direction. That the road is, you're at a crossroads, man. And good thing there are signs. Good thing there are signs. Who came up with that idea? We'll never know. Unsolved mysteries. The point is pros and cons. Pros, people get involved. You're like, yes. Oh, now we get to act together and collectively maybe come together and be like, you know what? If this could happen to Juan, this can happen to all. So all for Juan and One for all. I'm sticking with that. I don't care that the judge's name is also Juan. That's a coincidence that I was not, or is it? It really is. That one's, oh man, that one's a... Because if he just had any other name, Larry, this would have been... I'm still going with it. It's still going to be all for Juan and Juan for all for the name of the podcast, today's episode. But that is odd. That is strange to have one-on-one action there. One-on-one. Don Juan. Hashtag free Trump. Let's just put it that way. Other messages from this story is that there's levels to everything, and God, there's just some services, generally speaking, have plummeted. Whether it's airlines, airports, or people are trying everywhere. But I'll say this: if you pay somebody to do something and then they go blab about it, and the job was to just provide a service, and now they're just making up stories and making bank. And that's the worst money you've spent. And that sucks because you don't know that beforehand. You spend it. So there needs to just be, what happened to people taking pride in what they do? What happened to that? This gives prostitutes and hookers a bad name. You give prostitutes a bad name, bad name. You give hoes a bad name, because that's what it, because they're good hoes out there, which we all appreciate and love. We're all hoes at the end of the day in one way, shape, or form in this game of games that goes in the merry-go-round of life that is the... What are we doing here? The point is that hashtag free Trump, I'll say that, free Trump. If a man can't pay for services and get it, services are acquired and rendered, and you're getting a lot of just, and maybe you didn't even get it, maybe you didn't get the service, but now you gotta, somebody's come forward and saying something, now you gotta be up there. But that's the way of the politics and dirty games and dirty mind. Oh man, the amount of dirt. Gonna need a lot of bleach for this. I would, now I think from what I've seen, objectively from outside what I've seen, it just seems like if we were just two choices, if the choices are just two choices between the Biden versus Trump, I think from what I've seen from the outside, the way people react to Trump is with a lot of excitement, with a lot of joy, with a lot of like, let's go. And he seems like a fun guy, not gonna lie to you. Seems like a fun guy. Biden, on the other hand, doesn't seem fun. Biden, and we're going on vibes today. If we're just Trump vibes, Biden, not so much. You've seen the crowds, you've seen the speeches, you've seen the stumbles, the falls. It's, it's a whole thing. So if we're just going like based on like, and that's what it is, vibes, Trump, let's go. In terms of how this will work out, if it was just from what I would think that this would, I don't know how it's going to go out. I don't know how it's going to, we all have our thoughts, but it's been such a, man, the past few years have been so tricky and just full of twists and turns that who can sit here and say what's going to happen even tomorrow. So what we can say between the feces that are being dropped via air and, everything else with the AIs and the algorithms and the corporations who are taking money up the wazoo just to make more, and it's just so much of it is tricky business that it takes all of us to figure out. So what we could do is, I don't know what we could together. I think if let's just say this, hypothetically speaking, November 5th, I believe is the date. He gets elected. I don't know how it'll work if he gets, I don't think he's going to actually do time behind bars, but personally, I don't know what I'm talking about. That's just me. I don't think it just, because it sets a bad precedent for the US. And it makes your adversaries look and be like, man, and it's just not a, you don't want that. Because again, high hopes. The US is like the epitome of the experiments amongst experiments. And again, having said that, objectively, nothing's perfect. But again, speaking objectively, the best experiment going on. Bar none. But it doesn't look good if you go out there, trying to take down a president and just like, that's doesn't, silencing opposition, that's something like North Korea would do. That's something like Russia would do. That's something like the Iran would do that. So you want to set a better example. You let it ride out with what the people want, and the people's choice of word. You want I don't know what I'm saying. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that if he gets elected, I don't know how it works, but I think if you get elected as president, you can just you could just pardon me. Excuse me, pardon me, coming through, pardon me. I think as a president, you could go ahead and pardon yourself. I don't know if you can, or we have the world's first president who was doing prez from the jail cell, which is pretty dope. Not gonna lie to you, it's got kind of like a mafia vibe to it. I do like it. I do like the mafia vibe to it. Run the country from a cell. I don't want that to be the outcome, obviously, but I'm just saying if it were to happen that way, it would be like, and he ran the country from behind bars. The only way that will work is if he gets cornrows, couple of face tats. I could see that. DJT getting a couple of face tats. He'd have to he doesn't have to. He's the president. He's 45. Doesn't have to join a gang. Would he join a gang? He could join a gang. I don't know who, but that's the thing. Everybody loves him. The blacks and the whites in prison are gonna fight over him. Oh man. He brings the gangs together, dudes. Ladies and gents, we're gonna have blacks and whites coming together for the first time in prison. All for Juan and Juan for all. I'm going with that one. That's the title right there. I don't care that the name of the judge happens to be Juan too. I've said it before, I'll say it again. That just blows my mind. Couldn't anybody else, literally anybody else with a different name. I know one is like Espanol, one is, L'Anglais, but all the same nonetheless. The point is that, again, we've reviewed the pros, this whole thing brings the people together. The cons, it sets a precedent that this is in terms of like adult business, this is the way it's done, which I believe, hopefully, the younger generations can look and say, we can do things differently in the game. Perhaps. I don't know. It takes time. All of it takes time. But it's exciting nonetheless. But ladies and gentlemen, I will say this. It's been filled with, running a country from behind bars would be, or he could totally Donald Trump is basically Mandela right now, being persecuted like men. Yes, and I'll say this, brothers and sisters, if we've taken anything from today's podcast, it's that it's good to be alive and kicking. It's good to pass the torch down the line, and it's good to and what was the torch? Torch was the fire, and if you don't have the torch, perhaps you can hand out a cigarette smoke to somebody, and one day you too will receive a cigarette down the line by someone, and that's nice because cigarettes are one of those things that I don't condone it, but if you are a smoker and somebody does ask you for a ciggy and you're out there and you hand it out there and you're like, here you go, and they're like, man, I'm on, I'm between work right now. I go, but I'm gonna enjoy this, thanks, man. And it's just one of those things that hits, because like fire was one of the first things that we started to pass around to each other, because it's like, here, cook your meat, stop getting infections in your beautiful belly, you son of a bitch, go out there and hunt a reindeer. So pass the torch. It's all about light work. It's all about keeping it, steady, but also let's rock and roll. Let's have fun with it. The point is, all for Juan and Juan for all. I hope you liked today's episode. I hope that you are having a wonderful start to your weekend, wherever you are in and around this beautiful planet, whatever you're doing. Love you. Take good care of yourselves. Follow me on Instagram if you like. And if you don't, do it out of spite. Subscribe on the YouTube channel, of course. And if you're like, I'm not gonna, like, do it anyway. And check out patreon.com/RobSad. But maybe you're like, man, I'm already one step out of the game. I'm already subscribed. And I'm like, hell yeah. Tell your friends and family and they'll subscribe too. Because this shit is all oral. Orally speaking, traditionally speaking, orally. A little bit of that. A little bit of the oral action, right? Right there. Patreon.com/RobSadger is where you can fiscally support the show for more oral pleasures. And I'll be back here next week. In the meantime, be good to yourselves out there. I'll try to do the same, but let's have fun. Let's get it going. Let's make some prison food and fucking, because they say prison food is the best food. I don't know who said that, but I'm sure somebody did. Get out of here.